So thanks for joining me, Bob Haas. Today we're going to talk about the Dream Studies Group Program Foundation Series, which is one of the 4 different categories for the Dream Studies Group Program. And you have quite a few presentations in this series. Can you walk me through a little bit about what they're about and what we can expect from this series?
Okay, yeah, there's a two-part presentation that I did. One is called The Science of Dreaming, and the second part is The Psychology of Dreaming. And what the science of dreaming it kind of begins with a lot of the research that was done in the facts about dreaming. Do we always dream all the time at night? Does everyone dream? What is the function of dreaming and things like that? This begins to answer some of those questions and then gets into a little bit of a simple version of the neuroscience of dreaming, where we talk about what happens when within our brain, essentially, when we're in the REM stage of sleep and dreaming. The REM stage is where we tend to have our most vivid dreams. We actually dream in various stages of sleep all night, but that's where the more vivid dreams are the type that people consider dreams, the dream stories, and talk a little bit about that and why dreams work more on the emotional aspects of a situation during the day than they do quite often the event that created their dream doesn't even show up in it, and why all that occurs in the brain. Talk a little bit about the functions of dreaming, working on and dealing with the emotional impact of that of a daily event. The course goes in to talk a little bit about the various types of dreams, because we all know that our dreams aren't always the same every night. Some nights they seem to be these big long stories that take us through some sort of resolution to our problems or the problem of the day. But many times the dreams get very vivid. Sometimes what occurs is we suddenly realize we're dreaming. And this is commonly called a lucid dream. And when that occurs, what that's all about, what are some of the dream characters, things of that sort, the neuroscience behind lucid dreaming. It's not so mysterious. It's just that certain aspects of the brain will activate or wake up that are normally asleep, and these are usually the more rational parts of the brain. The conscious parts will tend to activate more, so you feel that you're conscious in your dream. Talks a little bit about nightmares. And why they occur, what percentage of the time do we have nightmares? What's typical and what's not, the healing properties of nightmares, as well as how one can deal with them. Talk about also various exercises into if a person wishes to understand how to do lucid dreaming or how to incubate a lucid dream. We'll talk a little bit about that, how to deal with nightmares, like I said. And then also I talk about some of the more extraordinary aspects of dreaming, such as how does psi actually get into our dreams? In other words, do our dreams actually at times show us something going on in a different location, across the boundaries of life and death? Do they dreams predict something that's going to happen, for example? And mainly give a couple of examples, but mainly talk about some of the surveys and the research that has been done to show that those are possibilities in dreaming, and then pretty much close out the science aspect of it and the research based on that. A lot of the research is based on a 2-volume book that we published, a bunch of IASD authors published a couple of years ago, called Dreams, Understanding Biology, Psychology, and Culture. And so I tried to pick up as much of the information on that because it had something like 70 different authors involved in it, about half of them researchers, and another third of them as were psychologists, and actually many artists and things. I tried to capture a few pieces of the facts of that in that particular course. The second part is the psychology of dreaming. And there was hundreds of psychologists and theorists and great luminaries involved in developing the psychology of dreaming that we know today, that I could only cover so much in this particular segment. So I concentrate on three particular luminaries: Freud and Jung and Pearls. Talk a little bit about their various beliefs of how the psyche works, and what their commonalities and what their differences are, and how that affects how we see our dreams and how we work with our dreams. I provide some examples also of Jung's theories and how he talked about one of the purposes of dreams is to help integrate parts of ourselves that we have alienated, for example. Provide some examples on that, and also talk about he looked at dreams two ways. He looked at dreams both as something you can't really understand without working with the dreamer, which is core to some of our ethics, is that the stuff must come from the dreamer. You can't just sit there and analyze it. But he also had what he called archetypal imagery in the dreams, which comes from a deeper part of the mind, and really goes into the development of the psyche that's going on in the unconscious. So I give some examples of the various types of archetypes that one might see in their dreams and all. And then talk a little bit about the function of learning in dreams. There's an awful lot of research shows that we do learn in various stages of sleep. And some of it is pretty good, hard, fast examples of people who have been able to, for example, uh, trying to practice a maze before, a number of subjects practicing a maze before they went to sleep that night. And in the morning, going back through the maze, and they found that in one study, found that those who actually dreamed about the maze, not just slept on it, but dreamed about the maze that night, did 10 times better the next morning. There's some examples like that in research, but also there are a number of theories related to the process that a dream goes through. They're basically memory-based theories based on something called memory reconsolidation. How a dream in your dreams, you kind of continue the learning from the day. You take things that are unfinished business from the day, usually emotional traumas and things of that sort, and the dream will compare it to your whole life. Basically, it has access to that in your unconscious, to put it all in context, and quite often creatively try to find solutions to the problem, basically through giving you different ways of looking at the situation, or possible ways that you might act differently to resolve the conflict that you're in. All this creative processing that takes place in the dream is considered emotional learning. Some of the functions, the way the dream can help a person adapt to life, how the dreams might even transform the personality, or restore the personality to when we tend to get ourselves uh, wrapped up into our fears and to our what society throws at us. Sometimes we lose the fact of who we are, and so our dreams will also provide that function of trying to help restore us to something that's a little bit more solid in terms of our view of self. Then I talk about the nature of the imagery, which and how one might work on dreams from a psychological aspect. Are pictures of our associations, pictures of our feelings. And the dreaming mind works through association, sort of metaphor as well. Show how that can be used in order to work with your dreams and understand them. It provides some examples on various types of dream works. I talk a little bit about the color psychology and how color in waking life has been shown to relate to emotional impact, things of that sort. And since the brain doesn't really change the way it works at night necessarily, that the color in your dreams actually can relate to similar emotions as the color evokes in waking life. And it just give you a little help into understanding how to work with your dreams and work with the color in your dreams. There's a color questionnaire, for example, that I provide. Working with the archetypes that Jung had proposed show up in our dreams to relate to a deeper processing that takes place unconsciously in the mind that helps to develop the personality, helps to bring aspects of the personality that have been alienated back together. And these archetypes show up as somewhat similar figures each time in the dreams to relate to those various processes. And so I provide a few examples of that. Some of the research that's been done by some of our folks at IASD into some of the archetypal shapes and the figures and how they relate to this process.
I love that. That's such a loaded curriculum. I really love how the foundation series has a little bit of everything, a little bit of the art, the science, the more metaphysical questions, and then the basics for people to really get started. That's really awesome. It's got the history of dreaming, why we dream, answering some of those foundational questions of what is the purpose of dreaming. So I think that's really, really great.
Now, the science of dreaming, these were done a few years ago. The science of dreaming, of course, has been evolving every year.
Hmm.
So there's new material to be added to this, but some of this is fairly recent since it was based on that book that came out in 2019. But like I see, the course is always evolving, and at some point I'll start adding new features to it, new information that has come out more recently into the process of dreaming.
Yes, that's great because it is such a niche field still, and we're always adding new research to it, new studies being done. That's one thing I love about IASD is always keeping up with all of the research on dreams. So that's very exciting. And so when it comes to the Dream Studies group program as a whole, do you have any words to say on that? Why have you felt that it's helpful? How it's evolved?
Well, the Dream Studies Group, one of the purposes is to help people who really have an interest in their dreaming or curiosity to really understand not only the information, what dreams are about, basically to share that information as well. And so we put together quite a curricula to look at all the various aspects of dreaming, not just the science and psychology, but various other aspects to get into the arts and various disciplines of dreaming. And it's just a place that people can go to really fairly inexpensively uh, get a pretty full course on dreaming. And it's all very entertaining, because it's presented by people and not just reading books or text on but also is a place you can go to ask questions and get some answers.
Definitely, yes. I love how everybody contributed. So many different experts and researchers from different walks of life all contributed to making this happen. So that's very exciting. I appreciate you coming on here and sharing a little bit about what we can expect.